Nature does not try to fit into norms, and by being in nature allows people to escape from all the social pressures that are placed on them. Judgment does not exist in nature because it is fully itself and alive.
The meditative walk our class took around Durham Park opened my eyes to the fact that one can learn to settle themselves in nature, even when they are not physically alone. I think this is a very valuable skill for collaborators to work on, because one will not always have a solitary space to settle themselves.
Living in Boone, we are given a multitude of opportunities to go outside and learn from nature. We can use nature as a way to foster relationships with ourselves and with others.
We as a society have a duty and responsibility to care for and love for our environment, yet lack of collective effort has left us with a changing climate. Many individuals and groups do care about our climate, but at this point we are still moving toward negative outcomes despite some smaller positive shifts. Our lifestyle changes reflected by individualist mentalities have led to a lack of collaboration among these inhabitants of our world. When thinking about generations of the past contributing to and caring for our environment, our modern society has drifted away from collective effort in this regard.
Living in North Carolina has taught us how to go outside and play. Looking back, we realized that this was a privilege not everyone experienced. Being able to play outside, whether in the ocean, cornfields, creeks, or pine trees, was a great gift that shaped us as people. We will cherish our memories of nature from childhood for the experiences, lessons, and happiness we gained.
When I placed the word dreams on the board, the Mod Podge ripped it. This is a metaphor of childhood. Before the word's ripped, it represents when we were children and our dreams seemed attainable and exciting. When the word dreams ripped from the Mod Podge, it represents when our childhood aspirations end because they become unattainable from societal and economic pressures. Growing up, many parents shelter their children and generational issues arise when those children grow up. The world is harsher than it seems once we get older, and many dreams are not attainable because of real-world issues.
We have the phrase, "you can help turn things around," to really show that the contributions of parenting, schooling, neighborhoods, your environment, etc., have a large impact on how we as humans view our world. These factors can affect us in negative or positive ways, but there's still always the opportunity for growth and change. Minicum emphasizes this idea of personal growth and healing despite the past throughout his book.
Minicum explains that everyone experiences pain throughout their lives and argues that one can either confront their pain head-on or direct their pain at others. He states that when someone with unhealed trauma chooses dirty pain, the person may try to soothe their pain by blowing it through another person. As collaborators, we know that leaning into dirty pain can reinforce a pattern of unproductivity in trying to work with others. If one does not confront their traumas head-on, they run the risk of perpetuating that trauma rather than healing it.
In facilitating collaboration, you must first settle and love yourself before you can approach and love others. On page 216, Minicum says, "You deserve to take better care of yourselves." Putting yourself on the right path towards healing, peace, and love takes effort, but it is well worth it in reducing contentment.
We need to realize that being productive is not always productive. Kelly Boucher said, "By removing myself from a system that has totally depleted me over the years, I now choose to cultivate connections that nourish me and help me step into other ways of scholarship." End quote.
The feel-good ripple effect is sometimes hard to achieve, but the fake-it-till-you-make-it mentality can help you get through the challenges of life. In the Brooks text, he says, "Instead of staying in your pajamas all day, get out of bed, take a shower, get dressed, eat your breakfast, go outside, and talk to people. Even if you feel miserable, smile and pretend you're happy. Your emotions will conform to your actions, at least somewhat."
The brain is often the pilot of one's body and the decisions they make, but Minicum outlines the importance of paying attention to the soul nerve. Minicum explains that the soul nerve is responsible for the nervous system's response. He goes on to say that the soul nerve not only communicates within one's body, but also with the bodies of others.
News, politicians, and large corporations put American people against each other so that we feel like there are big divides between things besides the ultra-rich and normal people. Money has the power in our economy and is easy for the top to stay on top if they pit people against each other so they don't have the opportunity to work together.
Capitalism continually pushes us to work to achieve something more, often leaving us unsatisfied with the things we have achieved. We're often left feeling inadequate no matter how hard we work. Constantly searching for more as individuals and comparing ourselves to others hurts our ability to effectively collaborate in collective success.
Technology pushes the need for more and has us addicted to things, causing us to spend money on the wrong things, and then capitalism makes us dig a grave of bills. Technology such as social media generally makes people feel more connected, but it can also separate us. We have become dependent on technology.
We have so much more at our fingertips, but so much less that reaches our hearts. This weakens our response to real-life scenarios and relationships. We need to turn our attention away from screens and toward each other, as well as within our own hearts and minds.
Another aspect of generational trauma that we haven't talked much about is weight loss. This constant bombardment of something is wrong with you and you need to fix it can become quite traumatizing for individuals. These unsettled bodies could be less apt to collaborating in settled ways with others. But we as a society still need to make efforts towards valuing a person's heart and mind over their body.
Women face unrelenting and unnecessary criticism from men and women alike. Women are expected to be perfect and are praised for bashing other women.
The picture of Lizzo represents loving oneself and what lies beneath, and fights societal norms of what pretty and empowered can be.
Health magazine was accompanied by Dr. Oz several times. I found it uncomfortable for a man to be telling women how to lose weight on stupid diets and represent women's health. Women can take up space and beauty is not defined. Women are viewed very surface level and it is usually revolved around the way that they look. Capitalism keeps trying to make women buy new products to fit into the mold of what society wants them to aspire to look like.
The depiction of police forces moving straight to violence, especially against Black people, has been highlighted through social media in the past few years. In this example, a police officer is being violent towards a child. This is absolutely unacceptable. Violence has been normalized throughout history and has been normalized recently.
White people need to step up and be anti-racist because there are so many policies, institutions, and people who are outwardly racist that people need to use their voice when it's needed. It is all good and dandy to believe in equality, but if people don't speak up against injustice when they have the opportunity to, then they are being complacent and unspokenly allowing the injustice to continue.
Everyone views reality through their own unique lens, and one is not more valuable than another. Brooks explains listening to one another by saying, quote, "Though we may not ultimately agree on every issue, we can still come to understand one another," end quote. People often forget or are unaware of generational trauma that is spread interpersonally. We are all subjected to the unhealed trauma that was passed down to us by our parents, grandparents, and other ancestors. We must deal with this trauma through clean pain and by paying attention to our bodies and soul nerves.
Often we are told to keep our guards and defenses up against others because other people can hurt us if we don't. In this class, it has been emphasized that we must open ourselves up to be vulnerable with others.
The pandemic has forced us to rely on screens and technology to stay productive even in a crisis. The pandemic has also highlighted the gaps between people of different levels of privilege. Those of us with a stable income and functioning immune system were lucky beyond belief.
During the pandemic, emphasis was put on starting the process of respecting our healthcare workers and service workers. The term "the new normal" caused stress because it didn't make it feel temporary. COVID changed our positionalities on these topics, or at least made us think of it differently.
COVID having been around for over 2 years now, I personally have been able to look back and reflect on how much I've grown.
During the pandemic, we were actually pretty alone at the time, and news stations would say anything we wanted to hear. This is just one of many examples that represents our country not taking the impacts and implication of COVID seriously.
It's been a great journey.